This afternoon I signed the petition to free Nick Diaz. I know the world has a whole lot bigger, more important fish to fry in some respects, but I'm identifying with Nick these days because I've been through that kind of bullying myself. So what happened, for those who don't know, is that Nick Diaz, MMA fighter with the UFC, was suspended yesterday by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, suspended from fighting for 5 years and fined $165,000 because he turned up hot for having marijuana in his system when he fought Anderson Silva in UFC 183. Now, Anderson Silva turned up hot for having performance enhancing steroids in his system. He got a 1-year suspension. Nick Diaz is out for 5 years. Now, the truth of the matter is, the only reason they're giving him that 5 years, or any suspension at all really, is because he's kind of been in everybody's face for a long time. I mean, he keeps people honest in a way, even though they don't want to stay honest. This is not the first time he's flagged hot for weed, and it should have come as no surprise, really. Anybody that thinks that Nick Diaz is going through life without smoking weed they're living in la la land. But the fact is, like, he's a fighter, he's an athlete, he does triathlons. He's one of these guys that's proven that you can actually do this stuff and still go on drunken tears and still be smoking weed. He's not he's not your average role model, I guess. And this upsets the gaming commission, and he's never been a very diplomatic guy. He comes out and tells things how he sees it. You know, sometimes I don't always agree with his perspectives or anything, but at least he's bluntly and blatantly honest. And he's a tough kid, right? I mean, he's always been a tough kid. He's not a kid anymore, but he's always been a tough guy. Like, you can just see it in him. He's a fighter. So anyway, so they suspended him for 5 years, and it's really just a kind of they're really just, you know, kicking him out, because at his age he might have 5 years of professional fighting in the UFC left. Hard to say whether or not he's going to fight any more or more than a couple more times. But when he does fight, it's very entertaining. And you know, this is a guy that has the skills that he can get away with mocking Anderson Silva, like laying on the ground and pretending like he's sleeping and coming back up to fight in the middle of an all-out UFC fight. You know, this isn't professional wrestling. This is potentially deadly stuff. So it's not that he doesn't have skills, but he's a wicked entertainer, and part of what he's had as his strategy for a long time is kind of infuriating the other fighters by heckling them inside the octagon. And I think, you know, because of that, he's got a reputation of being the bad boy. You know, he's always been kind of the villain in all the fights, even though there's a good number of people who, in this case, take the side of the villain. And when it comes to fights like against Anderson Silva, I'm one of them. I was definitely taking Diaz's side in terms of morale. If I was gonna say I'm for this guy because I just like the guy, it was Nick Diaz. But yeah, the Athletic Commission has suspended him for 5 years. It kind of reminds me like when Muhammad Ali, dodged the draft, and right in the prime of his fighting career, and then they wouldn't let him fight. I mean, it's nothing so political as that, and it's nothing so really globally significant as that. But it is a guy who's paid his dues, who's done a lot for the growth of mixed martial arts fighting, and who's being bullied out of his potential to continue to fight if he chooses. Now, it's not like, I've seen some stuff on the net where people are saying things like, by suspending him, the Athletic Commission is basically taking away his opportunity to make a living. That's not at all the case. Pretty sure Nick Diaz has a thriving gym, and pretty sure he's going to do just fine when he's done fighting in the UFC. But for them to just hand down that kind of a sentence, are they going to do that to everybody that flashes hot for marijuana? And why? Like, it's not a performance enhancer, so what's their beef? What's their problem with it? Really, it's just another example of kind of demonizing marijuana in the mainstream culture, and it's ridiculous. I don't smoke myself. I used to, but I definitely don't think that the Athletic Commission should be suspending someone like Nick Diaz, who's proven that he still remains in high athletic condition, and able to perform and all of this regardless of his use of marijuana. And and even still, what do they care? It's like, if anything, it's a detriment to performance. So he's given himself a handicap. So what do they care? It's just bullying. It's just bullying. It's just some people behind a desk that have never been able to control this guy the way they wanted to, and just had this opportunity to lash out at him, and they're taking that opportunity. And I don't think that the fan base of mixed martial arts is just going to sit quietly with it. In fact, today, as far as I know, there have been thousands and thousands of people that have signed this petition. Now, I don't know if the petition will do anything, but really, who's this stuff for, right? Who's this UFC and mixed martial arts for? Isn't it in large part for the spectators, for the fans? And if the fans don't want to see Nick Diaz gone from MMA for 5 years, don't want to see him bullied, having to pay a bunch of money and this and that, shouldn't that be respected? I don't know. Like I said, it's not an end of the world thing, but just something that's going on, and something that I briefly tuned into because I did for that fight, for that Silva versus Diaz fight, I reviewed every one of Nick Diaz's prior fights that were available to me through the UFC's online library, and so I kind of got to know him, you know, in terms of UFC fighters. As far as I know any of them, I think Nick Diaz is one of the ones that I've gotten to know his fights pretty well through that study. So given that, I thought the very least I can do is go online and sign the petition. So I'm going to put a link to that petition on this video for anybody that wants to you know, say, hey, I'm against bullying.